The story begins in America, set in a dystopian era. The nation is fractured, plagued by an unending economic crisis, and poverty grows worse each year with no sign of recovery. In the midst of this bleak reality, a young man named Ray, traveling with his mother toward a military compound. His destination is the site of a brutal competition known as the Long Walk, a contest that promises not only an enormous cash prize, but also one extraordinary bonus. The winner's greatest wish will be granted, no matter what it is. Ray's mother is uneasy, her face heavy with worry, as she reminds him that entering this race means putting his very life on the line. Yet despite her concern, Ray remains determined. He is resolute about joining the Long Walk. After arriving at the location, Ray met the other participants: Peter, Stebbins, Hank of Chinese descent, the polite baker, as well as Gary and a young man named Curly.
Rip, I'm Mima on the bowl in the morning, man. Right.
The fuck is a Mima?
Fuck you, I was just fucking around.
Soon after, the organizer of the competition appeared. He was known as the mayor. One by one, he called the contestants forward to put on their numbered badges. Once all 50 participants were ready, the mayor repeated the rules. They had to keep walking along the designated path without stopping for any reason. Their speed could never fall below the set limit. Slowing down for 30 seconds meant a warning, and 3 warnings in a row led to punishment on the 4th. However, if a contestant managed to walk 3 hours without another mistake, all prior warnings would be cleared. The most shocking rule was that only one person could win. There was no finish line, no shared victory, only one survivor who would claim the prize. The mayor reminded them that this annual event was broadcast across the nation and promised that the life of the winner would change forever. To the public, the Long Walk was not just a competition, but a symbol of the nation's rebirth.
Any of you can win. Refuse to give up.
With the crack of the mayor's pistol, the Long Walk began. In the first 5 miles, the contestants were still relaxed, chatting with each other to ease the tension. Stebbins received an early warning for slowing down too much.
Smile, boys. You're on candid camera.
Fucking creepy.
Smart.
Ray's mother's fears soon proved right when Gary stopped briefly to tie his shoelace. Soldiers immediately raised their rifles, making it clear that the warnings were no bluff. The nightmare became real by mile 7. Curly suffered a leg cramp and Ray tried to help him, but Curly collapsed, becoming the first victim of the ruthless rules.
Get up, youngin! Get up!
That ain't fucking fair!
Stop!
Warning.
The mayor gave a solemn salute, feigning regret, before forcing the others to keep walking.
Let's hear it, boys! Goddamn right!
As the march grew harsher, Ray caught the attention of a spectator in the crowd who seemed drawn to him. Yet before he could process it, another contestant collapsed with seizures on the road. Ray, terrified, quickened his pace, unable to watch the grim scene. Gary, on the other hand, looked satisfied, seeing it as one less rival to worry about. Despite the brutality, contestants were allowed to request water. By the time they reached 25 miles, Hank's legs began to cramp. Ray encouraged his new friends to adjust their speed slightly above the minimum limit. Showing generosity, he even shared some of his supplies after noticing Hank had dropped his snack. Gary provoked a contestant named Rank, mocking his style and abilities. Enraged, Rank lost focus, stumbled, and fell. The incident infuriated Peter and several others, who turned their anger toward Gary. Amid the rising tension, the harsh reality of human limits began to show. Bodies craved food, sleep, and rest, while even basic needs could not be ignored. One contestant, unable to control himself any longer, suffered a humiliating accident. That single lapse was enough to cost him his life in the unforgiving competition.
The last 20 always have to shit.
Shut the fuck up, Stebbins! What does it matter?
By mile 35, night had fallen, and the mayor warned that the darkness would make everything harder. Around 3:45 in the morning, Ray, who had briefly dozed off, was shaken awake by Peter. The lapse cost him dearly. He received 3 consecutive warnings for losing focus, which meant he could not afford another mistake for the next 3 hours. The pressure weighed heavily on him as the group reached a steep incline, making the march even harder. From behind, the shouts of warnings and the crack of rifles echoed, signaling more lives being lost.
Dying tonight. You're dying tonight.
Final warning.
You're gonna fucking die tonight, Garrity. I can fucking feel it.
Ray, on the edge of panic, saw the mayor's soldiers ready to execute violators. Gary's relentless provocations only worsened the strain. Just as despair set in, Peter supported Ray, offering him water and encouragement. Grateful, Ray apologized for his earlier outburst, and Peter calmly forgave him. In such a brutal contest, emotions were bound to flare. By the time they reached 59 miles, a new day had begun. To distract themselves from exhaustion, Ray and Peter shared personal stories. Ray admitted that he had just ended a relationship before entering the competition. Peter revealed that he never truly understood the meaning of the long walk, and confessed that by 11 o'clock the previous night, he was already ready to die. Now his only motivation was simple. He refused to let Gary outlast him. At mile 67, only 18 contestants remained. Hank was nearly at his limit, his body breaking down. But the next to fall was not him, but a bespectacled man who tried to keep pace despite a fractured ankle.
Warning. Third warning, 49.
Fuck, this thing is so fucked! It's all so fucked!
Seeing this, Peter grew suspicious, convinced that Gary had caused the injury. Gary responded with threats, his hostility escalating even further.
I got plans for you, motherfucker. Okay?
When the march reached 100 miles, the mayor congratulated the remaining contestants on their endurance. But one participant, disgusted by the endless cruelty, stepped off the path and surrendered. The soldiers quickly enforced the rules, and the others had no choice but to keep moving. Weighed down by exhaustion, the walkers began to imagine what they would do if they won. Some dreamed of riches, others of power. Peter, however, spoke differently. He said he did not care about money at all. What he truly wished was for the rules to change, so that in the future at least 2 winners could survive each year, instead of just one.
Yo, you're right, Garrity. Fuck the long walk. Fuck the long walk! Hell yeah, Carly!
Fuck the major!
You mad?
Fuck the long walk!
Fuck the long walk!
On the 3rd day, at the 144th mile, Baker nearly gave up when his body's needs overwhelmed him. The rifles aimed at his head, however, forced him to keep moving. During the march, Peter asked Ray why he had chosen to join the long walk. After all, every invitation could be refused, and the military would simply replace him with someone else. That question revealed the grim truth of their country. The nation had long been under martial law, and freedom was nothing more than a memory. Ray's father had despised the dictatorship and the long walk, which was glorified as a symbol of discipline. He secretly taught Ray about freedom, exposing him to forbidden books, films, music, and foreign culture. For that defiance, the mayor branded him a traitor and executed him in front of Ray's eyes. This was the real reason Ray had entered the long walk. He wanted to stand face to face with his father's killer, hoping for a chance at revenge. Peter immediately warned him against such thoughts. Even if the winner was promised anything, killing the nation's leader would make Ray a fugitive. He reminded Ray that there were still people waiting for him to come home alive. The march continued. By the 170th mile, the contestants' bodies and minds were breaking down. Some had already lost their sanity. That night, Stebbins told Ray that Hank could no longer go on. When Ray approached, he found that Hank had already crossed the line of no return. Baker, devastated, tried to embrace his fallen friend. Ray quickly pulled him back, reminding him that lingering too long would bring the mayor's soldiers and certain death. By the fourth day, the walkers had covered 209 miles and only 6 participants remained. Ray encouraged Parker and Stebbins, who still managed to keep talking despite their exhaustion. At that point, Gary attempted to apologize for his past behavior, but Peter distrusted his intentions and rejected him. Feeling isolated and without allies, Gary finally chose to end his own life.
What the fuck?
Not long after, the walkers passed the 200-mile mark, leaving only 5 survivors. Ray's shoes had torn apart, forcing him to march barefoot. Kali spoke longingly about his family, a sentiment Ray quietly shared. Soon after, Ray spotted his mother among the spectators across the road. Overcome with emotion, he turned toward her, wanting to apologize before his inevitable end. But Peter pulled him back, urging him not to give up after 5 days of suffering. He convinced Ray to keep moving. At the front of the line, Kali walked with determination. Yet the brutality of the long walk finally broke him. In defiance, he chose to rebel against the rules and ended his own life. At the 324th mile, Baker suffered a severe nosebleed. Ray and Peter tried to help him keep pace, but Baker knew his end was near. Accepting his fate, he removed his numbered tag and handed it to Ray, asking him someday to deliver it to his grandmother. Not long after, Baker stepped off the path and surrendered, bringing his march to an end. At the 326th mile, the mayor appeared once again. He praised the 3 remaining contestants, even smirking with satisfaction when they still had the strength to hurl insults at him. It was then that Stebbins revealed his true reason for joining the deadly contest. His wish was simple. He wanted his estranged father to finally come home and share a cup of tea with him. But his story turned bitter. His father was known as a man who left broken families everywhere, abandoning children without ever acknowledging them. Stebbins was just one of many. The shocking truth came to light. The mayor himself was Stebbins' father, and he'd known it all along. To him, Stebbins was nothing more than another forgotten child. Feeling worthless, as if he were only a piece of meat in his father's eyes, Stebbins chose to stop walking, ending his march.
I don't know why that calms me, but I'm not afraid anymore.
At the 331st mile, heavy rain poured as the crowd watched the final contestant struggle on. A dramatic moment struck when Peter suddenly stopped walking. He willingly gave up his chance to survive, choosing instead to let Ray continue and return to his mother. Ray tried desperately to stop him, feeling it should be his burden to bear. But in his heart, he could never forget Peter's kindness. To Ray, Peter had been more than a fellow contestant. He was a brother, a confidant, and the one who helped him hold on to his humanity through the march. The mayor came forward, congratulating Peter and offering him the promised reward, one wish of his choosing. Peter's request was simple. He asked for the soldier's gun. Without hesitation, the mayor granted it. To everyone's shock, Peter turned the weapon on the mayor himself, attempting to end the cruel contest once and for all.